The lanky weasel is certainly looking rougher around the edges than I remember, the old man taking a few steps into his overgrown front yard. Of course, he's got his gun with him, his paw gingerly clutching it while the other brandishes a cigarette. Or at least, I think it's a cigarette? Real late for a stroll, he mumbles. Duke? Hi, good morning, it's Jenna. Is that Chase with you? I hold up my paw and wave. Hi. It is. Duke takes a drag from the fat cigarette, and I see some embers fleeing about as he taps the end. In my mind, I imagine one of those little specks of fire catching on the untrimmed grass beneath, setting everything ablaze. I knew it. What Leo's been saying is true. He was seeing shit as well. Confronted him about it, and he got a wild look in his eyes, pushed me to the dirt. But here you are, in the flesh, and talking this time. I give him a befuddled look. What's he talking about? Well, Leo's going through a bit of a rough time, and that's certainly no excuse for the violence he imposed against you. However, we did see you at Carl's house, and you might have heard that he's gone missing. What good timing for your arrival then, Jasmynn? It's Jenna now, but that's beside the point. His bloodshot eyes shift from me to her, and that makes me even more uneasy. Have you seen Carl since last night? Duke clicks his tongue, shaking his head more times than he really needs to. I don't think you're investigating the right mystery here. Jenna raises an eyebrow. He points a swollen pink finger in my direction, still looking at Jenna. The real question is, why has your friend here been snooping around our houses here for the past month? What? Jenna furrows her brow, a light sigh escaping from between her lips. I don't know what... I feel her hand discreetly reach over and squeeze my side. Hold on, Chase. She mutters, refocusing her attention back on the weasel. Duke, please focus on me for a moment. Listen to the words I am saying. Have you seen Carl since last night? Duke hangs his maw open, rolling his jaw around from side to side until there's an audible click as it locks into place. I don't think you're hearing me. I hear you, Duke. Please, a yes or no answer, and then we can discuss what you saw with Chase here. Duke's bloodshot gaze flicks back to me, and there's something expectant about the look in his eyes, like he's waiting for me to say something revelatory. I have no clue what he's talking about, though, and Jenna doesn't seem to want to give him an inch of leeway to change the topic of the conversation. I see his teeth grit past his thin lips. Despite the intensity he's putting off, he looks kind of distracted, like we're only getting about 3/4 of his attention. Maybe it wasn't quite you, though, was it? The voice is strained and quiet. Weasel scratches his inner thigh. I didn't see the Ramboy, or his little rich parents. Okay, thank you. Chase? Oh, I only got here on Saturday. I wasn't here before then. There's only really one other otter in town, as far as I know, and he probably weighs 150 pounds more than me. So I really don't know who else it could be. Duke just glares in response to that, and I can't help but drift my gaze to the gun he's holding so idly in his grasp. I think he notices as I see his fingers clench around the base a little tighter. Okay. Thank you, Duke. It's really good to see you again. If you have the time, keep an eye out for him, okay? We can't seem to track him down. He's right there. He points to me. No, no. I'm referring to Carl. Carl's not here. Right. We're going to go look around some more and knock on a few doors once the sun's up. You take care, all right? Before I can so much as raise my paw in farewell, Jenna's already turned around and making her way down the street. Again, I have to hustle to catch up. After another half hour or so of searching, we end up heading back to Carl's place. After the whole interview with Duke, she starts ranting a little about meth use and the psychological effects. Admittedly, I was only picking up on bits and pieces of what she was saying. Apparently, the drug stimulates the parts of the brain that create urges for tinkering, which is why yards of meth houses often look like scrapyards after extended use. Poor Duke. But the guy always kind of skeeved me out, even back when we were kids. I think he used to have a wife at some point, who I remember being really nice. And she used to ride her bike around town all the time. And one day, she stopped by to help me set up a root beer float stand. Then one day she just kinda disappeared. Hell, I think I was playing at Leo's house when the cops came to her door and asked if Leo's parents had seen her. Jenna uses her newly acquired spare house key and lets us in. I'd spent so much time in Carl's house growing up that stepping inside always kind of felt like coming home. Carl's parents were never as friendly as Leo's or TJ's, but they were often just straight up absent, which means we got the run of the place. I glance off to the side and notice a divot in the wood paneling next to the door. Carl slammed his head there when we were roughhousing 6 or 7 years ago. It's a wonder we didn't do more damage. Jenna nudges me with her shoulder and I shift my attention back to her. Hey, I'm gonna put something on in the living room. I've been mainly camped up there on the couch with my laptop while you guys were out earlier, trying to get some studying done. Despite the quiet, it's a little difficult to focus with all this going on. So you wanna watch some TV? Well, sure. I've got something in mind. She smiles at me, turning tail to head down the hall. I follow suit, briefly considering raiding the cupboards for snacks, but that kind of feels out of line considering the circumstances. Flynn had turned the air conditioning off last night, so we've got the ceiling fan going overhead. It's doing a pretty good job of keeping me cool, the blade spinning so fast they almost look steel. When I was a kid, I was always afraid of having my fan on the high setting. The thing would start to wobble and click. I thought that at any moment it would spin off its socket to come careening right towards me. This one Carl has looks extremely sturdy though. It kinda looks like it's made out of some sort of brushed copper with a turquoise painted metal base. It's at this point I realize I'm not doing a good job of focusing on the anime Jenna put on. I glance over to her to see if she's noticed my wandering gaze, but I see that her eyes are closed. At first I think she's asleep, though they begin to flutter open after some time. She rolls her head some in my direction, catching my gawking. She smiles lightly, stretching her arms out over her head and letting out a long yawn. What? I put on my best innocent face. Just checking to see if you were as riveted by the ongoing developments of Mr. Wong's fledgling dim sum business. An amused noise escapes between her lips, her left ear twitching some as she stares at the screen with half-lidded eyes. Have the magical demon girls shown up yet? The magical demon what? I thought this was a nice little, what do they call it? A slice of life thing? Well, I suppose that's how they get you. She hums her words, her tone sleepy and warm. They lull you into something calm, low pressure, giving you a chance to really live the setting before they pull the rug out from beneath you. Jenna's tone is infectious, and even I start to speak with a sort of rumbling, only half-serious whine. Do they all have to be like that? I mean, what if I just want a quiet, slow burn kind of show? It seems like all of them these days just have fantastical bullshit that comes out of nowhere. On screen, the character of Mr. Wong, a rotund red panda, is cooking a batch of fried rice in a large wok. It's all so lovingly animated for something so mundane. You can practically see each individual piece of egg, pepper, and seasoning he sprinkles on top. Chase, there are plenty of slow burn shows out there. And how would you even know? You told me you don't keep up with this stuff anymore. I mean, I occasionally will put some anime on when I'm bored back at Pueblo. Oh yeah? Well, I guess hanging out with you has made me kind of interested again. Jenna smiles again. I can see the little tips of her tiny fangs. She shifts in her seat, scooting from her side of the sofa to mine. Her arms wrap around my torso, squeezing me some. Without really thinking, I rest my head against hers and exhale for what seems like ages. I can feel butterflies in my stomach, somewhere deep down, the light prickle of goosebumps along my neck. It's so intimate, so beyond the boundaries of closeness that Jenna and I have shared in the past. But it's comfortable. No judgment or pressure. Just two people on the same wavelength. Both very tired, stressed out, and kind of slap happy. I watch her chest rise and fall against mine. Her fur so much softer than mine. It's like running your paws through goose down. I slide my fingers around her shoulder and down her arm, then back up again. Is this just platonic? Like one of those cuddly girl slumber party kind of things? We never did anything like this when we were younger, though. The closest thing I can think of is when we shared an air mattress when we went camping for my 16th birthday. Leo having been out of town at the time, of course. You're very cute, Chase. Her words take me by surprise, the compliment so blatant, and not something I've been told in years. It feels like a minute passes before I feel her weight shift beside me. She looks up at me. I look back down at her. Next thing I know, her mouth is pressed against mine. My heart skips in my chest, and there's definitely some tightness in my shorts. Her muzzle is small, and my tongue easily fills its inside once she opens her lips. We continue for some time, the noise from the TV seeming to fade in the background. It's an unimportant mumbling drowned out by our pounding heartbeats and the whirl of the spinning fan above. It isn't until the episode ends and we're left in actual silence that Jenna seems to pause. She pulls back, eyes on my chest, and her expression indiscernible in the new darkness. I am a little concerned about moving forward with this. I've seen how these sorts of things can destroy friendships, and the one I have with you I truly value. I'm worried we will look at ourselves in the morning, well, in a couple hours, and be disappointed with ourselves. Wait. I stop for a second, frowning. Are you saying you don't want to, at least in part because you think I'm going to be bad at it? Jenna doesn't immediately respond. Oh no. I've done it plenty of times. My voice comes out a little louder than expected, and Jenna pushes her paw to my mouth, hushing me. I pull her away, repeating myself this time more quietly. I'm not bad at sex. I can feel my cheeks burning at this point. Jenna's increasingly amused expression not helping at all. Chase. Oh my God. Jenna's shoulders shake as she titters, clearly tickled by how flustered I'm getting. I'm serious. I can see that. That's not exactly what I'm getting at, but I am well aware you and Leo snuck off every chance you could when you were younger. But, as you may possibly know, there are several slight differences in anatomy between Leo and I. I continue to frown at her as hard as I can. Okay, don't give me that look. Now I actually feel bad. I grunt quietly. Well, how many guys have you been with? You got to ask me earlier at the diner, so it's only fair, right? After the first year of college, I pretty much lost complete contact with Jenna's social circle. Initially, it was because Carl never really wanted to go out, so we mainly just hung about in our dorm. But by the time Carl dropped out, it was like all our social links had been severed. I'd look at the pictures she'd post on her timeline, and I wouldn't recognize anybody she was friends with. It was such a contrast, seeing her at all these fancy events wearing formal dresses and receiving awards. For a while, I thought she'd just changed, transformed by college life and the intellectual peers she surrounded herself with. But talking to her again this week, I've come to realize that's not the case at all. She was always that person. It was just everyone else that brought her down to our level, I guess. Been with? She leans back some, frecking an eyebrow and putting on a professional visage, though she's still got a mirth-laden look in her eyes. Are you asking about dating or sex? Both, I guess. Oh, well. About the same then. 6 or 7. 6.5? Let's just say 6. What happened with number 7? She lets out an amused noise, then seems to think for a moment as she strokes her chin. Oh, it was nothing too serious. Just this guy who worked at the gym I went to. I believe he was a draft horse? My mouth goes a little dry. A draft horse? Mm-hmm. She smiles lightly. He was really sweet, and the muscles were nice. Usually, I don't like being picked up, but it was definitely interesting. With him being nearly 7 feet tall. I stare blankly at her, eyes wide. She continues to smile at me, though the corner of her mouth twitches and she brings her paw up to cover her muzzle. Chase, I'm messing with you. Jenna! I scowl. Wait, is that really your type? I thought you would be more into, like, wiggy anime boys. I'll have you know my manga and anime interests do not control my love life. I like people primarily based off their personality. Oh, I'm fucked then? Jenna chuckles at that. She reaches out and takes my paw, giving it a firm squeeze before patting my cheek. Though it feels nice, I'm still not sure how to take all this. I'm sorry for messing with you. Her voice is clear and soft as she punctuates the end of her sentence with a kiss on the tip of my nose. I'm admittedly a little nervous myself. Crossing new thresholds like this can be a little nerve-wracking. But make no mistake, I do want this. I let that settle for a moment before reaching up, taking hold of each of her wrists. Wait, are you serious? She nods happily. If you're okay with it, of course. Really? You and me? She nods again. Mm-hmm. Like boyfriend and girlfriend. The thought enters my mind just before I speak it, and I have just enough time to close my mouth before it's uttered. She looks at me curiously. Just shut up and say yes. Yeah, I'm down with this. Yeah.
Yo, you guys been having fun?
I glanced down at Jenna, her legs still intertwined in my own. I quickly tried to untangle us, scooting to the other side of the couch while yanking up my shorts. She's got a firm grasp on my tail for some reason. I have to grip my teeth to keep from yelping as it tugs. Groggily, I begin to see her turquoise eyes flutter open, blinking at her surroundings, then me, then the sound coming from the entrance hall. Oh. She rubs her face, trying to shake off the sleep fatigue. What'd you say? There's some clattering noises coming from the kitchen, like the rustling of plastic bags and the clinking of Tupperware. Did he not see us? Thank fuck he's a lizard and can't smell us at least.
I asked if you fuckers have been having fun. It's midday.
Flynn, you got our texts. We were up late last night, searching for Carl.
Yeah, making yourselves at home here. What you got on over there? Hentai?
I checked the TV. It's frozen on a guide menu screen grab of a frantic anime girl holding way more bowls of soup than is ordinarily considered reasonable. Jenna yawns into her paw, quietly pulling up a black pair of panties between her thighs, followed by her trademark jean shorts. She's so lackadaisy about it, like she doesn't care if she's caught. Her expression is distracted, but not by Flynn or me. Though she does manage a quick smile in my direction when she does focus her gaze my way. I return the smile, albeit lopsidedly. Half my face still feels tingly in the sleep.
So we're dead fucking certain that Duke doesn't know shit then. God damn it.
I hear the heavy footfalls of the Gila leave the kitchen, making his way around to us. He's holding 4 small plastic containers. He gives 2 to each of us, setting them down on the coffee table. The insides are fogged up from condensation or steam, so I can't exactly tell what they contain. It looks green, I guess. Flynn sees me gawking and lets out an exasperated puff of air through his flared nostrils.
The top container's got Caesar salad, the bottom's got fresh cooked bluegill.
Bluegill? I blink at the steamy container. You catch that yourself?
Yeah?
He perks a brow ridge. And you cooked it? Just for us? The line of questions seems to give the Gila a pause, as if he needs to make sure he phrases his next words carefully. Jenna smirks in my direction before blowing her nose into a tissue.
Usually I'd drop some off to Carl.
He folds his arms over his chest.
You know, to make sure he doesn't go into a full-on diabetic coma, his arteries packed up with pizza and energy drinks.
That's very thoughtful of you, Flynn. Thanks, man. I give him a thumbs up, to which he just shakes his head.
Whatever. Any word from the sheriff's office?
Jenna reaches into her shorts and grabs her phone. She taps at it for a few moments before shaking her head. Nothing since yesterday. The person I spoke with at the office said they would reach out to me with any questions or updates they had.
God. Fucking useless. They're so goddamned overstaffed there anyway. How hard can it be to find one fat-ass rich kid in the middle of the vast fucking nowhere?
Apparently rather difficult.
Just waiting for Carl's parents to post for reward money or some shit.
I don't think public entities get to claim those sorts of things. Flynn scowls at Jenna for a good 4 seconds before turning away, walking to the grand living room window and peering out at the backyard.
Well, yeah, I fucking know that. It just don't make a lick of sense. No food, cars, or cell phones missing. Nothing valuable stolen. No break-in indications, besides the scuff marks you made on the way in.
Flynn, if I hadn't gone in through the window, Leah would have eventually shoulder rammed the front door down. Flynn holds his hands behind the back of his head, clenching his eyes shut.
Yeah. God, what a fucking crazy ass. At least his desperate party attempt helped us figure out Carl was missing earlier.
Jenna pushes herself to her feet, walking over to beside Flynn. She folds her arms over her chest. So we briefly skimmed over this yesterday, but with regards to Carl's mental state leading up to all this, Flynn ever so slightly shifts his head in the Phoenix's direction, their size difference stark as they stand silhouetted in front of the window. Is there anything you can think of that would help us out here?
Anything to cause Carl to say fuck it and run out into the desert without any belongings, you mean?
Yes. Jenna answers flatly.
He's been depressed as hell. But that's how he's been since he dropped out of college. All that digital art shit he used to do, he hasn't done much of that either lately. Whenever I check my phone or computer, he's always online, just sending me memes and shit all day. Despite my efforts, there ain't been much in the line of indication that he's planning on changing that routine anytime soon.
I'm sorry to hear that. She sounds genuine to that regard, letting out a quiet sigh.
Ain't nothing you can do about it from fancy college land.
I finally get my ass off the couch, silently hoping that I hadn't left the surface all oily.
I think he's been getting high more. Says it chills him out, with all the nightmares and shit.
Nightmares? Flynn nods.
Yeah, he's been going off on how his house is haunted. Says things get weird whenever he goes to bed.
Weird how? Flynn is starting to look increasingly exasperated at my continued prodding. It's evident he wants to shift focus back to the search effort.
Fuck, Chase, I don't know. Bumps in the night, creepy children, whispers, distant laughing, that sort of thing. Said he only heard them when he was about to fall asleep or was waking up, so he could never investigate.
Interesting.
Really?
He said that getting high was how he coped with his newfound paranoia?
I let him sleep over once. My whole room smelt like skunk weed for a fucking week.
He slept over because he was afraid to be here, in this house?
No, he stayed over because I was plowing his ass.
His tone is laden with sarcasm, and I even find myself snickering a bit at the shock. Jenna doesn't laugh, though, meeting Flynn's gaze with an indiscernible expression. Tequila clears his throat, scratching at his stomach.
Yeah, he was afraid to be here.
I know enough about Carl's family to know that his house is seriously old. His great something or another is the town founder, after all. The place has been seriously modernized into a more stucco adobe style, but there's some definite history underneath all this. Growing up, Carl started thinking there were ghosts in the house. It freaked him out pretty badly. So much so, his parents basically begged me to have sleepovers with him during the weekends, and even some weekdays. Not that I minded, of course. Carl had all of the video game consoles that were out, and his parents bought him M-rated games. I got to stay up late with his giant TV blowing up aliens and running over hookers. I remember he started to become less afraid as time went on, and his parents stopped asking for me to come over as much. So, of course, shitbag younger me told Carl a bunch of stories about a ghost bride whom I said I saw standing outside his house at midnight. And that's how I got to spend my whole 5th grade summer vacation living at Carl's place. The fact that Carl is still freaked out about this sort of thing is pretty concerning. Well, it'd be quite fair if I held the mindset that my house was haunted and saw whatever that was on the phone out my window. She pauses, shaking her head. I'd probably be rather freaked out as well.
Yeah, would you run outside? That doesn't make any sense. You'd think this place would be more ransacked if this was a fucking kidnapping or something. You don't try and kidnap a fucking ram without getting some serious dents and scratches in the drywall.
The idea of Carl being assaulted like this is starting to give me a serious pit in the bottom of my stomach. Well, you did find some scattered plaster dust and marks on the wall near the basement crawl space. Yeah, maybe there could have been like an initial scuffle down there, and then he was held at like gunpoint or something. There's a sudden look of shock at the direness of my words that flashes across Flynn's face. Anxiety, fear, concern, all expressions seldom seen on the lizard. He quickly stifles them, adopting his usual disgruntled demeanor, emitting forth a familiar grunt in response. Guys, I think we're escalating here. No offense to you, Chase, but I think I might want to have a chat with Jeremy myself. You can come along, of course. Same to you, Flynn. Despite Jenna's assurance of non-offense, I can't help but feel a little shitty about not pressing harder for information while I was there. I mean, fuck. I want to be a journalist, right? I can't be getting intimidated by childhood bullies. Flynn nods, but only slightly.
Yeah, but Chase said he told him the drugs he sold weren't laced.
Laced drugs wouldn't result in that image on the phone.
Shit, I haven't talked to that flunk ass in so fucking long.
You were always a bit too old to get the brunt of his sadistic side when we were growing up.
Thought that was mainly Clint?
They all rubbed off on each other easily enough. Flynn pulls out his phone, a rather dated first-gen looking thing from the late 2000s. He pecks at it with his large fingers, walking off toward the foyer.
Gonna text TJ and Pinball Smasher that we're together and asking around.
No need to be more specific than that.
Trust me, wasn't about to tell him where we're headed until we're done.
Poor TJ. I'll make sure to text him to make sure he's alright. We start to head out as well when he suddenly calls out back to us.
Oh, and bring your goddamn lunch. It took me for fucking ever to put that together.
Are you nervous? I ask, trying to break the silence. Flynn takes his eyes off the road long enough to peer back at me through the rearview mirror, then glances over at Jenna. She's riding shotgun, cradling her fishy Tupperware in her lap so it doesn't spill. I already told you I wouldn't mind seeing Jeremy again. Well, what about you, Flynn?
Why are you asking me? They weren't my bullies.
I'm not sure if that's exactly true. I have distant memories of the Tetanus Alley crew calling him all sorts of slurs back in the day. Hell, they started a rumor he was some kind of sadomasochistic gay rapist. Said rumor somehow wormed its way out of echo to our high school. I remember there was this whole thing where he got called into the counselor's office about it. He proceeded to call the counselor a wretched, gashed cunt and got a 1-week suspension. It wasn't ever clear if any of that shit stuck. He certainly never cried about it like TJ did.
Sounds more like you're the one with the issues.
I frown. I'm gonna spill bluegill all over your seats.
You'll be scrubbing the upholstery with my foot up your ass if you even open the goddamn lid in my truck.
Chase already spoke with them. You said you only saw Jeremy, Heather, and Micah, correct? Jenna looks back at me and I nod.
Micah? Heard he was back in town a while ago. Never expected he'd turn up again after, 7 years?
Have you gone by to say hello? There's a hint of teasing in her voice, responding to the Gila's latent disdain for the kid that's evident in his tone.
He stole my fucking dirt bike.
You stole your fucking dirt bike 8 years ago. Well, he was still kind of a shithead when I visited yesterday.
Yeah?
I see the back of Flynn's scaly head cant curiously.
What'd he do?
Well, he didn't do anything to me, I guess. Just seemed like he hated my guts. I tried calling him out on his shit, and he wasn't having any of it.
He call you a faggot?
Of course. Eh. He smirks into the rearview mirror at me. Glad to see this is all so amusing to you.
I'm allowed to think whatever the fuck I want is amusing.
Are you going to ask for your dirt bike back? I ask, half joking, half trying to break the tension.
I did get it back, remember? Little shit dented the fuck out of it and put his weird punk band stickers all over the body, but I got it. Really had to go to his house and talk with his parents to get it back. Should have pressed charges.
Which house was that again? It was the yellow stucco one at the end of Jasmynn, one of the older buildings they constructed during World War II. His and mine were the only houses down there that weren't RVs or mobile homes. I believe it was condemned and demolished a couple years ago. Right, Flynn? Flynn nods, turning off onto a dirt road.
Oh yeah. The roof was caving in, the electrical was a fucking hazard, and the pipes were lead-based.
Lead-based? I thought it was banned before then.
Major cities did. Technically, it wasn't in the building code until the 80s.
Jenna frowns to herself.
Let's just focus on the missing ram, alright?
We drive some in silence for a while, until we see some smoke rising from behind one of the older trailers.
Hell's going on?
Flynn pulls over. The distinct, smoky smell of burnt mesquite pods wafts through the air. It's actually kind of pleasant. Flynn takes out his cell phone, stepping out of the truck and puzzling his way over to the source of the smoke. Jenna and I exchange a quick look before following in his wake. The aroma grows stronger as we round the abandoned trailer and make our way to an outcropping overlooking the rest of the area. There's even a slight apple-like smell mixed in. As we round the bend, I can see a few lawn chairs spread about a crackling bonfire. Some of the chairs have faded princess print designs, while the others are of the more traditional camping variety. Next to them is a fluorescent orange cooler and a portable grill-looking thing that kind of looks like a toaster oven.
Don't think they got a permit for this.
Oh, hi! The high-pitched voice comes from behind, and the next thing we know, there's a feline bounding up towards us. I see Jenna recoil some, the fennec lingering a bit behind the rest of us. Flynn, meanwhile, looks stone-faced, his hands in his pockets. Hello? I was here the other day, but we have some more questions about Carl, if that's all right. You were? She stares at me for a long moment. Too long, actually. Flynn audibly sighs. Oh, I know you. You're Leo's boyfriend, right? Ex-boyfriend. Jenna chimes in, but seems to visibly regret it as Heather's attention swivels to her. Oh my god! Jasmynn! Hi! She rushes over to Jenna, wrapping her arms around her in a tight hug. You look really good! Thanks. Jenna doesn't correct her on the name change for some reason. Instead, she very gingerly pats Heather on the back before withdrawing back a foot. I didn't shower this morning, so it's a wonder, if true. Neither did I.
Astonishing. Where's Jeremy at?
Oh, hi, Flynn. Heather waves at him, despite the Gila being literally only a couple feet away. Flynn furrows his brow some, and limply waves his hand once before stuffing it back into his pocket. Sure. Oh, I made a joke a while ago, and he got really offended and walked off. It was so dumb.
Where do you walk off to?
I don't know. Oh, let me get you guys a drink. We're having an Ahoa Party. Before anyone can say anything else, she turns heel and scampers off, her demeanor like an excited child. Once we're alone, I broach the obvious question. What's an Ahoa Party? Jenna looks over at me and shrugs. Meanwhile, Flynn squints at the land around him, folding his arms over his chest and mumbling to himself.
Whose property is this? I thought you lived with her dad. The one who works at the dam?
The lizard sucks in his tongue and quickly shakes his head, his question evidently rhetorical. She does seem different, doesn't she? I wasn't expecting the compliments after, well, how she treated me before. The next thing we know, the feline is returning with 3 beers clutched to her chest. Hurry, 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 take them. They're really cold and getting my shirt wet. I blink and quickly step up to take one, kind of awkwardly sliding it from between her forearm and her cleavage. I'm not particularly hankering for a beer right now, admittedly, but I didn't exactly want to leave her hanging. After a moment of hesitation, Flynn and Jenna also take a beer. You guys can have a seat around the bonfire, too. I glance over to the bonfire. It's pretty small, only about 2 or 3 feet high. Why would anyone want to hang out near a bonfire during a 90-degree springtime heat wave is beyond me. Some of the chairs are kind of small, though, since they're for little girls. They're not really good for big boys. She looks up to Flynn, who stands nearly 1.5 feet taller than her. The phrasing is so strange, and her smiling gaze lingers way too long.
What? I'm fine standing.
Flynn shifts uncomfortably. She does know he's gay, right? Yeah, I recognize them. Those are mine. She points to the princess chairs, specifically one with the print of a female cat in a blue dress and tiara, surrounded by chirping woodland birds. Or... Oh, wow! Do you want them back? No. Why not? Jenna stares blankly at her.
Look, Heather. When was the last time you saw Carl?
Oh, She scratches herself, looking off to the side. I don't know. You should wait for Cher. He'd have an answer for you. In fact, I'll go look for him for you. Flynn steps up, his brow ridge furrowed.
It's a simple goddamn question that I'm asking you, specific like. When was the last time you saw Carl?
Heather reels back as Flynn's tone grows more stern, the cat clutching at her own arms. I don't know.
You know who Carl is. You blew him in high school.
What? No, that was Tanya. Carl's gross. As I recall, Heather briefly dated TJ, not Carl. It was a weird coupling, with her being a couple years older, though I guess I have no room to speak there. She was kind of mean to everyone, so it wasn't surprising that they split. Ended up dating one of Leo's friends on the football team, if I remember right.
Fucking whatever.
Flynn waves off the correction. I remember taking an investigative journalism course freshman year that discussed interviewing techniques used by the police department. It included this big comprehensive list of tells for when someone is lying or obfuscating the truth. The way Heather's acting fits the description of a lot of the aforementioned. Wait, Heather, you're like best friends with Jeremy. Heather still looks like she's about to bolt, but responds regardless. He's cool. But what does that? And he sells pot around here? Jenna looks over at me, seemingly curious about where I'm going with this. Do you like me to plug? Because I don't get involved in any of that. I don't know anything. I quickly shake my head. No, like, you're around him when he does that sort of thing. Were you there when he sold to Carl last? She shifts her posture some, the cat scratching behind her ear as her whiskers bristle. She cuts herself off, trying to think of the right words. They don't want me talking about this sort of thing with other people. Especially you guys, since you all hate us. I'm supposed to say that I don't know anything, but I do. I'm not stupid. Her voice is raised now, and she's clenching her fists against her stomach. Yeah, I get that, you know. It's totally cool.
You're a fucking brainiac, for sure.
Shut up! She screeches at Flynn, the Gila covering his earholes with a wince.
Jesus fucking Christ.
Just ignore him, okay? He just wants to find our friend. We're really worried. Her dilated pupils flick back and forth between the two of us. There's another long silence. Like Keith? That name again. It sounds familiar. I look to Flynn and Jenna to see if it's ringing any bells with them. I'm not getting anything from Flynn, but Jenna frowned some. Hopefully not like Keith. That's why we're here now. Heather's shifting gaze meets Jenna's, holding there for a moment before refocusing on me. I was eating apples smoked jerky with Jer when Carl texted that he needed some stuff. He did the deal, but nothing special happened, I don't think. So nothing out of the ordinary? Heather thinks in silence for a while. Flynn, meanwhile, bites the cap off his beer and takes a swig. Lent and Micah came by later and kept being really weird and pushy. Well, like Lent was. Micah just stole my jerky, but that's kind of how he usually is. Pushy? How? About Carl? I think so. Wait, really? Flynn stops mid-drink, looking on in anticipation following her statement. Yeah. It was, like, about the money stuff, which I don't pay any attention to. I don't really use money that much anymore. I'm, like, aesthetic. Okay, but do you remember anything specific? I think so. I was calling Micah out for the jerky thing, but he just kept ignoring me. Flynn kept talking over me, and when I got mad at him, he just started whispering to Micah. It was super rude, So I remember it well. It's actually been, really hard to remember things lately. Oh. That's about all I can think of to respond with. As I look over, I can see Jenna tapping away at her phone, typing something. She peers up only for a moment, just long enough to give me a soft smile and a nod. She must be writing all this down. Flynn, meanwhile, is putting in an active effort to keep his mouth shut. He's waiting on me expectantly to continue. Before I can follow up, Heather starts speaking again, this time to Jenna. I don't really remember, why didn't we get along? Because the name Jasmynn pops in my head, and it's like, ooh, that bitch. But I just saw you now, and it all just seems so silly, doesn't it? Jenna doesn't even seem to react to Heather at first. She shuts off the screen on her phone and exhales, peering off towards the mountains in the distance. Yeah. Silence. Hey, I don't really want this. You can have it back. Heather nods in understanding, a lopsided smile on her fur-matted face as she takes the bottle from Jenna. Oh, sorry. I rushed off before you could say no. Sometimes I do that. It's okay if you don't drink. Oh, I do. Socially, just not here. Heather looks a little confused, and that's when I realized that Jenna wasn't looking at the mountains. In the distance, I can see the familiar sun-soaked silhouette of the little beige house that's bordered by two saguaro and a lonely dirt road. Oh, yeah? That's cool. Sometimes I eat something really rich, and the idea of booze just makes me want to vom, you know? Jenna just nods. Flynn spits on the ground, the faint smell of his venom wafting in the breeze for a moment. I'm guessing he bit that cap too hard.
So, anything else about Carl?
That's all I know, I think.
You think?
Yeah. So, I'm gonna go get the others real quick, so... Bye! Before we can say anything further, she takes off again. In the distance, I can see her start running, her arms flailing with a palsy-like limpness at her sides. I can't help but feel a sort of queasy sensation at the sight. This is what this place does to people. Jenna, meanwhile, just lets out a long sigh.
Props to you for not just smacking the shit out of her.
Oh no, I wanted to. Trust me.
That would have made things harder for this whole questioning business, for sure.
If it wasn't for that, I really would have let her know exactly what I think of her. There's an edged vigor to her words, an old anger bubbling to the surface. Wow. You're pretty intense about all this? I thought you guys just had, generic high school mean girl troubles. I tried not to talk about it too much back in the day. Back then, she was rude to me, even when I'd done nothing wrong to her. I figured she was just insecure and left it at that. Then one night, she came to me with no one else to turn to, tears in her eyes. She claimed she had some pretty serious problems going on at home and wanted to tell me about it. From that point forward, I was ready to defend her, to help in any way I could, short of going to the police, of course, because she begged me not to. It started out as little things, favors. She was too emotionally distressed to do her homework, so I did it. She couldn't come to class because of a panic attack, and the teacher wouldn't understand, so I lied for her. She needed money to see a friend in Peyton, so I gave her what little money I had. This went on for some time, until eventually enough was enough. I had my own problems, especially at home, and I just couldn't juggle the well-being of everyone. That's not my responsibility. I told her up front that I was going through a tough time and couldn't do these favors anymore, but I was always available to talk. That wasn't good enough, of course. Despite being busy with her fractured home life and the stresses of school, she still found time to create this elaborate revenge on the one person who cared enough to help. Next thing I know, her latest boyfriend of the week and his friends are pounding on my front door at 10 p.m. And what does he tell Mom and Dad when they open the door? She deepens her voice, putting on a dude bro accent.
Yo, I'm looking for Jasmynn. She told us to meet out here to get some.
So, not only did they convince my idiotic parents that I was fucking 5 guys, including her boyfriend, she told the whole school. I had my paw smashed in a locker, was fired from my part-time job, and lost almost all my friends outside of you guys. Jenna gestures to the both of us. She made herself the sufferer in that narrative, the one who had mistakenly trusted the weird, horny anime girl. Jenna takes in sharp breath from her nostrils, her composure otherwise completely solid. And she didn't even have the dignity to atone for her actions when the chance was standing right in front of her. She continues to lie and manipulate her way through every social interaction to make herself feel better. It's a perpetuation of this endless cycle of perceiving herself as a sort of eternal victim. In reality, it's complete delusion that hurts her and everyone around her. With the way Jenna rattles off point after point regarding Heather's transgressions, it's evident that this is something that she's thought about greatly. Maybe even rehearsed. I can't believe you never told me any of this. When I was hanging out with you guys, that whole drama was the last thing I wanted to think about. You know, it was actually Leo who kept prodding me that something was wrong and insisted he help. I suppose he meant well enough. Down the hill a ways, the dusty shape of 2 figures can be seen emerging from an old shed. One of them pauses as he sees Heather sprinting off down the road, while the other ignores her and carries on. Eventually, though, the 2 of them see us and begin making their way in our direction.
Well, here comes the gang.
I'd sidestep over to Jenna, lowering my voice some. But you are okay? Jenna seems slightly surprised at the question, giving me a slight smile. Well, things have turned out well enough. Not sure we can say the same about her. Though, to put it lightly, I'm good, Chase. Thank you for the concern. After what she just expressed, that's a bit of an oversimplification, but I'm not going to press the issue. She probably really wanted that catharsis.
So, what? Did you come back with your posse to intimidate us or whatever?
Jeremy's dull eyes are focused on me. I'm starting to feel increasingly intrusive, standing next to their bonfire with their beer. This is definitely the sort of shit that would get me smacked down as a kid. Is he here? The smaller bat whispers to Jeremy, seeming to be walking directly behind him as if trying to stay out of sight. Oh, man. Micah lets out a relieved sigh, and after a moment, the familiar white fuzzy form of Micah emerges from behind the rotund Finnick. He's clutching something, though. A long piece of rebar. At first, I think he's holding it as a sort of self-defense weapon, but then I noticed the hot, white ash coated on the end. I guess it's a makeshift poker for the bonfire. Hello, Jeremy.
Hey, sis. Man. I'd ask you how you've been, but I'm assuming good, right?
Generally speaking, yes. Where's Heather?
Oh, she said she had to go do something real quick. I think she'll be back.
Well, like I said, I'm well enough. However, we are still looking for Carl, as Chase here made you aware yesterday.
Jeremy looks over me with a tepid expression, the faint outlines of a grimace forming at the edge of his muzzle. Really?
Really?
Flynn steps up, the Gila tall enough that his shadow falls directly upon the smaller Finnick. Whoa, Rockabilly. I don't see you much out here.
Fucking wonder why.
Micah glares at him from across the bonfire, the shifty-looking bat increasingly agitated by her presence.
We told you, Schizo, all we knew yesterday.
Evidently not, and yeah, don't call him that?
Jeremy lets out an amused noise, though it's clear he's also getting a bit tense, especially with Flynn's looming form.
Heather was saying y'all were talking about Carl after the drop all secretive-like. Shortly after, he fucking disappears. You tit-dirts want to extrapolate on that?
Jeremy lets out an astonished puff of air, turning to peer past Jenna at me. Wow, dude. You really did fucking go crying to your friends for help. I feel a knot starting to form in my stomach, and I resist the urge to clench my fists. I'm just trying to find Carl. He's your friend too, right? Fuck no. Rich tits don't have any love around these parts. Didn't even think the guy had friends anymore after you two left. He points to Jenna and I. Flynn scowls, but says nothing.
Yo, does Mommy Mayor know you're here?
Micah's looking up at Flynn now.
'Cause I won't be harassed, bitch.
Flynn actually laughs, exasperated beyond measure.
Kid, shut your mouth before I call your parents. I'm nearly 21 now. You can't do that shit. Yeah, I can call the sheriff on you for trespassing and an unpermitted burning during fire season, and they charge you as an adult. Then why is your faggot ass here instead of them, bitch?
Jenna rubs her temple with both paws.
Okay, let's put a stop to that. We apologize for intruding on your Ahoa Party, but we wouldn't be here if it wasn't serious.
This isn't serious to me. Seems like a big joke, seeing you clowns back together.
Micah, enough.
Her tone is so stern and maternal that it visibly catches the bat off guard. He seems surprised that she even remembers his name.
Look, let's just have a seat, all right?
Alright, sis, whatever you say. Micah blinks at Jeremy's response and grumbles quietly. The bat looks over his shoulder before moving to one of the camping chairs and taking a seat. Jeremy does as well. Both seem to make a conscious effort not to sit in the princess ones. Flynn takes another swig from his beer and joins them. I hesitate a bit, but Jenna beckons me forward. As I sit, the singeing burn from the fire mixes with the glaring heat of the sun above, and it feels kind of like I'm slowly being cooked. It's incredibly uncomfortable, but I seem to be the only person bothered. Well, by the heat, that is. We got empanadas in the mini oven.
Is that an offer?
It's a threat.
What?
Dumbass. Boys. Micah shifts in his seat. He keeps looking to Jeremy, as if wondering why he's even humoring this. He miserably pokes at the bonfire with his rebar, sparks flinging forth and dissipating in the desert dust. Jeremy, meanwhile, scoots his chair over and peers outside the little toaster oven-looking thing. It's hooked up by what looks like a 50-foot extension cord that goes into the shattered window of the nearby trailer. Yeah, they probably need a little bit more time cooking anyway. Now, about Carl? About Carl. Yeah, didn't want to tell you, you know. He gesticulates toward me. He's been, like, really depressed as of late. I mean, anyone would get that impression if they talked to him a little. I think, like, once you're so rich, you have everything you want and don't need to work, it fucks with you. Life alone ain't good enough, man. Now, if you know what's good for you, this stays between us. Cool? He looks from Jenna to Flynn and then finally to me. Micah is staring hard at Jeremy. The runty bat's lips thinned over his little fangs. Sure?
Yeah, whatever.
I suppose it depends. Flynn sighs loudly, placing his face in his hands. We didn't do nothing to Carl direct-like. He just kept telling me he wanted to feel something, you know? Didn't care what it was. Didn't care what it did to him. I kept telling him, like, nah, man, you're too soft for this. But he wasn't having it. So I gave him, like, a sample bag. I thought you told me you didn't give him anything else. I said I didn't give him anything laced. There's a difference, yo. Plus, I figured you would have found his weakened fat ass by now.
Sample bag of what?
Flynn practically growls. Speed.
You gave Carl meth? Carl asked for fucking meth? That's horseshit.
I don't know what to tell you, man. You must not know him as well as you think. Carl and meth? It doesn't make any sense. Carl got really into the enlightened drug use thing in high school, but he was never on board with stuff that hard. Flynn is fuming in his seat, and even Jenna looks perplexed. Jeremy, where are you getting meth?
Yo, that's enough questions.
Yeah, like, out of respect for your situation and stuff, I thought you should know. But we ain't got any more of that.
God damn it.
Flynn's face is pulled into a silent snarl, eyes clenched shut. Jenna's just frowning to herself, her phone in her lap. No one says anything for a while. I have a million questions, but I don't think they'd answer any of them. For some reason, the first thing out of my mouth is, what's an Ahoa Party? Jeremy and Micah both look at me with quizzical expressions. Something that Keith came up with.
Yeah, means like happy and Misatan or something. Well, not exactly happy. Something more profound than that, I'm sure. Everything had a fucking deeper meaning with him, didn't it?
Jeremy lets out a mirthless smirk, the Finnick grabbing a few paper towels before taking the empanadas out and setting them on a small tray. Yeah, but, who's Keith?
How the shit do you not remember Keith?
Michael looks downright offended. He sounds familiar, I just can't put a face to the name. Well, you're in luck, Muscran. I'm not sure what he means until I see him move to pick up something sitting in one of the half-folded up camping chairs. It's a picture frame with a bunch of different pieces of handwriting on the back. To my surprise, he walks over and hands it to me. In the frame, there's a pretty unelaborate picture of a stoned-looking fox guy. He's in a ratty lifeguard bucket hat and wearing an oversized hoodie with this stylized-looking eye on it. I feel like I've seen him before, but only in passing. You bring this with you everywhere? Just to the bonfires. Kinda like a super old tradition we picked up after what happened. I know, it's like super culty, creepy and shit, but Keith would have thought it was neat. It was all about that whole moral support Big Brother vibe. What happened to him? The question's blunt, and this seems like one hell of a sensitive topic for these guys, but now I'm genuinely curious. He went missing. One day he's here, slinging dope, playing foosball with us at that moldy shack he ran a bar out of, and the next, gone. Nobody knew where he went? Nope. Next thing we knew, Micah poofed as well. The bat looks guilty, squirming in his seat. Didn't expect you to show back up either, though. Same goes for you, I guess. He looks over to Jenna. She responds with a polite smile and nothing more. What's going on here? As I hear Clint's voice, I see Micah quickly sit upright, visibly startled. There they are! Look! I told you! I didn't tell them anything! Heather is tugging at the weasel's tank top, but Clint quickly smacks her hand away. Clint. Looks like death. Emaciated, disheveled, teeth rotting out of his head, his fur falling out, and pink lesions dotting his flesh. Jeremy and Micah look pretty rough, but nowhere near as bad as him. I quickly hand the Finnick his picture back. We were just leaving. Jenna pulls her purse tight to her side and stands up. Thank you for your hospitality, and it was good seeing you again, Jeremy.
I should fucking kill you three right here, you little cunts! Get the fuck out now! Go, go, go! I'm getting my fucking gun, I'm getting it!
Clint stomps off toward the nearby trailer, swearing up a storm. Oh, shit! Micah quickly refocuses his attention on the rest of us. Yeah, get the hell out of here! I half expect Flynn to start shouting back, but instead I look over. He's already up. The Gila is making a clicking noise and gesturing with his head toward his truck. No, Clint, it's okay, I swear! I quickly get out of my seat and fast walk to catch up with him, and Jenna does the same. What the hell? It's all Jenna can say as she shakes her head in disbelief. We hop in Flynn's ride and take off without looking back.